Hello, hello. There he is.
Hey, Garrett. Hey, folks.
How you doing? Chris Baker, good of you to join us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a moment and let the people in the house. How are you doing today? How's the weather out in Wisconsin?
It's very nice out today. We're in the mid 60s, 70s. It's sunny. Yeah, it looks like it's about 70 right now. So it's a beautiful day here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, not bad out here outside Cleveland as well. And we will take it because weather's been kind of hit and miss.
Oh, yeah, right.
But you're just back. We need a longer conversation about this, but you're just back from the EU, right?
Yes, my wife and I did 2 weeks traveling throughout the Czech Republic, specifically because of a video game that I was obsessed with, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And we traveled to all sorts of locations in the game. And actually, we met quite a few people. We met like 2 couples that were from Ohio and one from Cleveland. And then one of my Czech colleagues that I met at Pulaski University there. She and her husband had recently visited Ohio, and they're like, we want to move to Ohio. We love Cleveland. We want to move to Ohio. So as soon as you mentioned that, I thought of that.
I've never heard that in my life. It's not bad here. No, Ohio's got like 7s across the board. It's not bad. As a Michigander, you know.
Sure, totally. Yeah.
Can't completely sell the state, but yeah, that sounds like an epic journey, dude.
It was fantastic.
Video game. Yeah.
I cannot wait to go back. I'd spent about 11 months learning Czech prior to going, and so I got to speak Czech with a lot of folks there, and it was super enjoyable. Loved it.
Yes. Perfect. Let me make sure all my settings are go here. Manage recording. We are indeed. All right. And yeah, let me slow down for a second and see who's in the room. We've got everybody's here. We've got the Adam is here. Hey, Adam Davis. Brian Stauber is here as well. Hey, George, the Lib Gamer. Good to see you, Chris. And many more. We got some new folks. Yes, things are coming together nicely. All right, well, let's dive right in. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Fellowship Friday. We are joined today by the mighty Chris Baker of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. And we stole this, I think, from one of his blog pieces or papers, Games Are Not Optional. And I'm super excited to talk to Chris about his work with TTRPGs and libraries, especially about this really incredible grant that's underway now, studying games in libraries across the nation, in partnership with Washington State, among many others. So it's sort of really exciting things happening in this space right now. So let's jump in here, folks, and please drop your questions in the chat or hold on to them, and we will try to get there as the conversation gets a little towards the end. Really quick, I am TabletopEDU, or myself and Marianne, among the community here that makes this thing possible, and all the backers who supported our Kickstarter a little over 2 years ago. We're a nonprofit. We're all about bringing TTRPGs into learning environments. So classrooms, libraries, homeschool spaces, all kinds of places. We build community, we build resources. We're working on some fun stuff, as of yet not officially announced. And we try to do this show every Friday. And we also have a Discord channel. The link is here. Many of you are in there. We're active on LinkedIn. Shoot us a message. I'd love to connect with you if we haven't already. But let's get to the main event. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Baker is here. And he is a public library and games and learning consultant with the Wisconsin Department of Instruction and the Bureau of Libraries. I hope I got that all right. He has just an incredible lineup here. He has a BA in theater from the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, an MFA in theater pedagogy. We're going to talk about that. I'm an old drama nerd as well. Virginia Commonwealth University, and of course the MLIS from UW Milwaukee. Former youth services, teen services, and adult services librarian at Spring Green and Portage Public Libraries. As I mentioned already, he's currently serving as the Games Learning Consultant at Wisconsin DPI. He is the president-elect ALA Games and Gaming Roundtable Game RT. Many of you are crossovers from that Discord community. And thanks to George for the introduction to Chris. And he's the co-PI on the $250,000 IMLS-funded National Games and Library Project, which is underway, as I understand it, as we speak. Finally, the pedagogical anchor, flow theory. I'll let you pronounce Chikmenskihai's name. Maybe I got it, maybe not, in games and learning environments. So let's dive into it. Tell me, this IMLS project is kind of a big deal. How did it come about, and what do you hope it changes about how libraries think about game-based services?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, so what it originated first from this general conversation that my boss, Ben Miller, who's our state librarian here in Wisconsin, had been having at, so there's an organization called COSLA. I'm sure some folks might be familiar with it here, the Chief Officers of State Library Agencies. So that's what kind of the association that generally pulls together, the top-down librarians from all of our states. They get together and they talk about national efforts and collaborations and trends. And at one of those meetings, my boss, Ben Miller, talked with Sarah Jones, who is the soon-to-be retiring state librarian of the Washington State Library. And Ben mentioned that we're really big into the game space here. Obviously, like me having this role of games and learning consultant, that the state is actually encouraging and in funding that we continue to work on some innovation in this space. And Sarah mentioned, well, they are huge in games in Washington State as well. They have, they have an annual grant program to put TTRPGs in libraries throughout Washington State. And then, of course, the serendipitous part of this is Dungeons and Dragons was created in Wisconsin, in Lake Geneva, in part, and then now lives in Washington State with Wizards of the Coast. So it just was kind of a natural dovetail there. So to that end, we started strategizing about what it might look like to do a national grant project. And really what it came down to is, one of my biggest passions is realizing that there are huge gaps in professional library training throughout the nation when it comes to GBLS, as we're coining them, games-based library services. And there's so little data that's been collected. There hasn't really been a really comprehensive lit review. And, I've had conversations with George, I've had conversations with other folks about how we are kind of experiencing an upcoming crisis, I believe, in libraries where as video games specifically, trend ever more towards digital, there really isn't a borrowing solution for public libraries currently. And I don't know what our libraries are going to do if library users can't just use a card to check out a game and download it and try it out, like we do with Libby Overdrive, like we do with ebooks, audiobooks. So when we talked about applying for this grant, this National Leadership Grant for libraries, we talked about wanting to develop best practices, collect all that information to both create a training module or a toolkit that will hopefully fill some of those gaps in professional library training, but also do this really robust nationwide research so that we would have this information to present to, for example, game developers in the future who say, well, how many games check out of libraries nationally? Why would I want my game to be offered in a digital way for free, right? So it's really about, we're trying to set a foundation of research for games-based library services that hopefully all sorts of other grant programs can build on the shoulders of in the future and do better work than us and use our work and research and that. So that's mainly what we're hoping to do. Fill a gap of library professional training with this toolkit that's going to be offered for free in perpetuity as long as we can, and collate all of this research and this literature into something much more understandable and usable for future research to be done.
Beautiful. And so you guys are putting some pylons down to build a serious foundation here. I love that bit about Lake Geneva and Dungeons and Dragons in Wisconsin. We joke on the program here about we get a lot of folks from like cold weather and darker places in the world, and they're like, yeah, I think there's a connection between like bad winter weather and people playing TTRPGs.
We got to do something, right? We got to do something all day. So yeah.
Yes, and Adam Davis is of course here from Washington, where it rains a lot, and so they get away with that. Although the Pacific Northwest is a little different. Yeah, that would be pretty subversive. I always kind of skim over the video game stuff because I'm so kind of lasered in on TTRPGs
Totally.
these days. But having a library, being able to check out video games would be pretty subversive to the video game industry. That'd be, and very cool for us at the other end. So that's quite the project. And so what's the timeline look like? When will some of this stuff be published, or when I remember reading about that toolkit.
Yeah.
How far off is that?
Fortunately, we're like right about to start generating deliverables, which is super exciting for me because this started technically, it was a fiscal year 2024 grant, fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2027. But as many folks here know, things were quite chaotic last year with funding at the national level for libraries, the IMLS. The grant was pulled back from us at one point and then given.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because of administration changes that occurred at the IMLS, the Institute for Museum and Library Services. And so we were put back a little bit on schedule. We were pushed back a little bit, but I got to say, like, Adam Davis is here of Foundry 10, formerly of Game to Grow, now of Foundry 10. He's one of our core partners, research and practitioner partners on the project. And we really hit the ground running early this year, and we've done some amazing work. So we are partnering with Field Day Learning Games, which is Wisconsin Center for Education Research, Madison, on the research piece of this lit review piece of the first year of this project. His name's David Gagnon specifically. He's the director and co-founder of Field Day, so he's our scientist on this. And he is just about to finish the lit review, where we did actually technically international literature collection of white papers, PhD theses, you name it. And we collected as much of that as possible, and we are distilling that into a literature review that will be offered. I believe it's going to be first offered in June at the American Library Association conference. That's where we're going to first have that deliverable available for people to check out. And we're going to start our nationwide surveying. We're just finished up our survey research mechanisms that Adam knows. We've been working on this for like 2 months to get our survey up to snuff for everything. We're going to start nationwide research and data collection on June 1st, which is a Monday. So anticipate hearing, if you're interested and you want to get signed up or you want to connect with me, let me know. And we're going to be disseminating those surveys through Games and Gaming Roundtable, COSLA, all sorts of places. So we're hoping to get as much data collection done as we can. And there's actually an incentive to complete.
Ooh.
We have some gracious donation from Foundry 10 that allows us to offer some incentive of $100 gift cards to a certain number of people that will help fill out the survey. So there's actually a reason to do it this time. So
lovely. Yes. No, that's going to be really exciting data to go through. We put together a hokey little survey ourselves a couple months ago now, as we're researching some products and resources we're developing. And then I learned more about this, and I was like, aha, okay, well, this is great. So we will definitely help get the word out and spread that link. And we've linked some of those spaces where they can track some of this in that little practitioner report we put together. So I'll make sure, if you haven't downloaded that already, folks, that is on the last slide of the presentation. I'll make sure that's available and in the Discord. And George mentioned the MLIS grants were awarded and then taken back. It's canceled at some point. That's a whole different story. I would love to hear about all that. And kudos on getting them back. That's much more impressive even than like getting them awarded in the first place. Like,
yeah, the very long and the short is canceled by the administration. All of them wholesale, and was it 2 different court battles? I think, Chris. That in conjunction, those 2 kind of got them all back. So.
Oh man, well, that is good news. I'm happy to learn that.
Yeah.
You know, being in academia, it has been sort of just hammer blow after hammer blow of like funding getting taken away. So this is a good story. This is a
little bit of a bright spot.
Yes, this is definitely a bright spot. And TTRPGs in general, what's happening in this space is just so exciting. And I think
so exciting. Yeah,
it's almost like people are really yearning for something kind of real and authentic, and we're having a moment. So it's almost like the beacons are lit, exactly. Well, tell me about this framing. And this is kind of zooming out a little. You talk about games not being optional. It's not a bolt-on anymore for libraries, and I love that framing. And I might start trying to talk about it that way for classrooms.
I think so too. I mean, I think it universally. I think it applies to both formal and informal education settings, and for sort of obvious data-based reasons. And that's the thing I think that's frustrating to me about. I love libraries. I love the field of librarianship, but that's a frustration point I have with the field of libraries, where I think libraries have traditionally always been a little bit behind on new media. You know, a little bit slow, a little dragging their feet to, for example, adapt CDs and DVDs into their collections. And then what do you know? After a number of years, those are the most popular circulating items in a library, right? And we have the opportunity to not have that happen so much with games, TTRPGs, VR, video games, collectible competitive card games, you kind of name it. We have the opportunity to not be that, but we're not there yet. And that's why I'm also trying to be kind of like annoyingly loud and proud about this thing that I feel is something I'm very passionate about. They cannot be considered as optional anymore, right? I mean, the reality is we have information that suggests that, for example, even when you just think about video games, we know that 60% of Americans play video games at least 1 hour a week. So that means that 2/3 of Americans would say, I game a little bit, right? It's more likely than not that any person you walk by on the street plays games of some sort. And that doesn't even include TTRPGs, board games, collectible competitive. That's just the video game stat, right? At this point, we have, data that, people think of gaming as traditionally a boys club or this dated view of that, right? We know that at this point, women age 18 and older are more likely to play games than boys 18 and younger at this point, when it comes to video games. So it's like there are these stats, and forgive me, I mean, I love TTRPGs. Video games is where I've done most of my research, but I've done tons of work with TTRPGs as well. And so considering that, and considering the fact that those of us, everybody in this room, we all grew up as gamers, right? We were kids, but now we're getting a little older, and now we're people that are getting graduate degrees and creating nonprofits like you're doing, Garrett, and we're getting PhDs, and people are becoming legislators. And so I think the people that grew up as gamers are now going to be the people that really take it seriously when things like legislation comes through or grant opportunities, which I think we saw like with this IMLS grant. They were very supportive of it. And so to that end, I think this whole idea of games in libraries being something that folks tack on to their programming or their collections if they have money, or if they have the extra time and resources, is an incredibly flawed way of approaching it. I would say that games and libraries should be treated as core collections and programming the same way we do books, audiobooks, DVDs. And more than that, the data suggests that that is good for libraries. One of my favorite statistics in libraries to monitor is the turnover rate of a collection, which is the amount of items in a collection divided by the number of circulations that collection gets. And with video games and with TTRPG books and with board games, I found the turnover rate in my library that I worked at to be anywhere from like 1.5 to 2, which means you're getting 1.5 to 2 circulations for every single material in that collection, which is way stronger than a lot of other collections that libraries may have and are investing more money into, which is the issue as far as I see. So it's a chance to meet new demographics, it's a chance to increase circulation numbers, and it's a chance to inspire like a whole new generation of library users to say, come and get our games, but also check out our books and take care of our programs. So it's not optional, and I really hope our MLIS programs throughout the nation start to have some games-based library services training as a core part of their instruction.
Super exciting. Yeah, I love how you lead with the data. That's really powerful too. That's a great ratio. I hadn't heard that before. I found this flyer stuffed in my 4-year-old's cubby the other day.
Yeah.
And it's from our local library. And it's the youth program guide for the summer. And they talk a lot about early literacy programs and the summer reading program and whatnot. And I was looking through it, and we're going to go to some of this, of course. But it has me thinking about, the students and the learners who are disaffected and disengaged, like who really need to be working on literacy and working on learning. They may already have some aversion, to books. Totally. They need kind of more interactive, more alternative, different ways of engaging with text and engaging with literacy. And so games, of course, we've seen this trend, especially with young boys, is there's sort of this retreat into into gaming communities and gaming spaces. And this isn't just TTRPGs, it's video games. And part of this, I think, is feeling the sense of agency and being able to connect to a community there and to kind of feel effective and so forth. And so, yeah, it strikes me as very strategic, if nothing else, for libraries to say, this is a way that really, as you said, expands our demographic and engages folks. And I'd be fascinated to see, follow-up research on this year to track some of these folks, right? To look at academic success and literacy and all this sort of stuff in terms of, users who are checking out, interfacing with different programs and whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly neurodivergent. I have pretty severe ADHD, and I struggled with traditional learning formats growing up too. But there was something about games, the interactive component, the lead forward component versus passive spectator piece, like you mentioned, that spoke to me. And games are literacy. I think that's the other thing. Games are literacy. They are interesting problem spaces with stories to tell, identities to explore. And systems to break down, understand, develop mastery around, and then apply that critical thinking in many other parts of life. I think games make great civic people. So I couldn't agree more, Garrett. And I think that's something that I can't wait to see more research on too. I mean, hey, I turned out, I guess, kind of okay. My parents are still technically proud of me despite being a gamer growing up. So there you go.
Well, right. I mean, as you said, the culture changes, as people, as our generation comes up and what we had and whatnot. And I think some of those myths around video games being like violent, or being a distraction and not, it's one of these, there's the conversation in the press has been interesting lately. There was that piece in the New York Times really going after screen time. But it struck me as just so superficial, like there's different types of screen time, guys. Like
yes.
Social media,
such a broad brush.
Doom scrolling is different than playing puzzle games, right? Like it's just, these are fundamentally different ways of interacting with technology. So 100%. Oversimplified, to say the least. I was going to go on a tangent about Jim Paul G because I heard literacy, and I know you're.
Oh yeah, Jim G is he actually attends I'm one of the conference organizers for the Play Make Learn conference every year in Madison, and we have the G awards that take place there every year for the best learning games, and Jim attends a session every year and talks with virtually I should say, because he's on his farm with his goats.
Arizona.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I flew back from when I was teaching in China. I flew back like 2014 to go. It was at Wisconsin-Madison, but it wasn't playing.
Oh yeah,
it was GLI. It was
GLS.
GLS. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I went to that conference and saw him there, and that was like my pilgrimage after getting the bug. So we'll talk about literacy a lot more. Yeah. And I'm going to sneak peek a little game at the end of this that we're developing for the summer reading program. I'd love to get your reaction to that. But let's turn, let's do another question or two here, and then let's see what questions our community has cooking up for us. Let's turn to theater, and I know we've got some other theater nerds in the community, myself being one of them. But theater pedagogy to video game scholarship to library consulting is a fascinating career arc. What does theater training give you for thinking about games and play in libraries?
Yeah, I have no idea how this worked out either, I guess. Part of it is I just kind of followed my North Star and it kind of led me here. So follow your gut, I guess, of which I have an ample one. I got to lose a little weight for the summer. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is theater, right? And I specifically was somebody who was in the more acting, directing side of things. And so it's sort of not a huge surprise that me loving to be an actor also love TTRPGs, right? It's role playing.
Yeah.
And so it's me and video games. I mean, whether, if I'm playing as a knight in a medieval game, I am while I'm playing that video game, truly transporting myself. I've kind of, you mentioned Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's positive psychology and flow theory is what I think really is a common denominator amongst all of the great games and the great game experiences for users, is some version of flow that tends to take place. And so, yeah, there's a lot lot of theater kids that I've noticed, of course, that are into games and TTRPGs, but a lot of theater kids that I noticed went into libraries. So I don't know what the tie is there either. I'm surprised at how many people I meet and they're like, yeah, I worked in professional theater and then I also pivoted to libraries. I don't know if it's the collaborative piece of that. I mean, running a library or working in a library, it takes a village. It's a communal effort, and everybody has their different specialties that they apply. And so it feels, a successful library really feels like it's a collaborative experience when it's offered. And so I don't know if it's that, maybe it's that theater piece of working on a big collaboration to offer some service. Yeah, from theater, and then when I was in studying theater pedagogy, right, it was specifically I was a professor, an adjunct professor at my grad school, Virginia Commonwealth University, teaching like Shakespeare and some other stuff like that. And a big part of that was the breakdown of pedagogy and understanding what are effective modes of teaching and learning, and how can we be responsive as educators to individualized needs as much as we can be. And that then, frankly, ties itself perfectly into games. Because, as I said earlier, I feel like a well-designed game and a well-designed classroom share something very intimate in common, in that they're both very interesting learning spaces that have expert guidance to the user of how to embrace what is being offered, or how to imbue what is being offered in folks' minds. And so it's whether it's a video game tutorial or whether it is a classroom that's onboarding me to a new subject. I think James G's principles are spot on. I don't think you can do better. And I think you can apply those team principles to both the interesting problem space of a video game or a TTRPG game, as well as a classroom. So the video game scholarship and the pedagogy component really kind of flowed together very organically. And then to the library piece, what I will say is I think I figured out I work better as an informal educator than a formal educator. I'm more of a practitioner. I'm more somebody who works with teens and does programs, and I like to study and do I don't know if it's my ADHD or what, but I think the formal education space just doesn't resonate with me as much. Although I do love going and like guest lecturing and stuff, but that's a guest experience. Hop in, hop back out and do my own thing, you know?
Love it. Yes, all that makes a lot of sense. Let's jump to 5, and then we'll open it up to the group. Looking ahead, where do you see things, or where would you like to see things going in the next 2 to 3 years? How can practitioner communities like this one support and amplify the IMLS work?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's the whole reason why I'm so excited to be doing this work. First and foremost, I need to see professional library training programs, including either classes or bits of classes or professors that have experience with offering and teaching about games-based library services. I think that the Games and Gaming Roundtable is an unbelievable community of practice that represents some of the greatest minds in games-based library services nationally, maybe internationally. But we shouldn't be doing the work alone. I really feel like the work, the scholarship, the training, the experience, the guidance, the best practices that Games and Gaming Roundtable represents, and like certain projects like what Adam's doing with Foundry 10, what we're doing with this grant project, what you're doing with TabletopEDU, Garrett. I think those are the principles that we're all these grassroots organizations that are just passionate and are really, I feel everybody's very good at what they do, but these professional library training programs that cost quite a bit of money to create the next crop of future library leaders should be teaching our librarians about the importance of this, that games are not optional, how to integrate games-based library programs and collections into library spaces, and how to get your community excited about it. And then the rest will do the work itself. There's going to be a natural ebb and flow with communities loving this type of work, higher circulation, more programming numbers, libraries demonstrating their relevance and showing that they are really at the cutting edge of technology and media culture. All of these bits that I think will happen naturally. So that's one of the most important things. Our MLISs need to get with the program, and they need to listen to the folks that are leaders in this space already in the field. In addition to that, like I said, I think it is a crisis, especially when it comes to video games, one of the most popular entertainment mediums on the planet, that we don't have a digital borrowing solution. So I'm really hoping to, maybe if we're working with organizations like Good Old Games, GOG.com, through there's a European Federation of Games, Archives, and Museums. There are organizations, the Strong National Museum of Play, Video Game History Foundation. I mean, you name it. But I think all of these organizations, I really want to work with these folks folks, and I want us to develop collectively a digital borrowing solution for libraries that is not prohibitively expensive like Hoopla, which is very popular, but a lot of libraries don't even want to promote that they have it because they can't afford to meet the need because it's too expensive. So I want to seat at that table. And if we can do those two things, I think we're going to see more TTRPG games and programs in all libraries. We're going to see more video games. We're going to see more alternate reality, VR, collectible competitive card game clubs, you name it. And I think that it's really going to speak to the future generation of library users. So that's what I'm most passionate, I think, about. As for how this practitioner community can support and amplify it, once the toolkit is out, share it everywhere. Tell your library to check it out and use it. Help us codify the term GBLS, Games-Based Library Service. We're trying to coin that because the based part is really important, right? It's not just a program you offer that has games. The game needs to be the core, the center of it. It's really important. So help us to, coin that term, share it, tell everybody about the great work that Garrett's doing, that the NGLP is doing, our National Games and Libraries Project, Games and Gaming Roundtable, and just continue to advocate that librarians are informal ed leaders in this country, and we can really help set cultural media trends through our spaces with our young people. So
beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Round of applause. I mean, that is just, I am fired up. And you know what strikes me that's so exciting about what's going on in libraries is how it develops this sense of civic infrastructure, right? Like we're talking about people getting together and organizing. And it's really, you know, Harmon points this out, right? And we had a show a month ago or so about how not only TTRPGs almost teach a kind of teach a kind of
absolutely.
And so this is vital. This is vital at a moment when things feel more uncertain than ever, and change is accelerating faster now than it ever has, and it's only going to probably continue to accelerate. So having these vital third spaces like libraries, which are open to anybody to come. And, you know, one of the things I love, and I'm kind of getting off into the weeds now, but in terms of, we talk about G and other progressive educators and thinkers like Freire, the beautiful thing about a library, it's so unstructured. You know, there's no real curriculum there. It's like, come in and learn, like, see what's going on. It's such a piece of the environment, a piece of the community, in a way that traditional schools and institutions are a little slower to move, right? Like you said, and we see this in teacher ed too. It's almost it takes a generation, or it takes a decade sometimes for or longer for the curriculum and the training for professionals to kind of pick up with what's going on at the cutting edge. But sometimes we can accelerate that. And I think the work you're doing achieves some of that.
Cross some fingers.
Yes. Let me and drop some. I didn't see any direct questions in the chat for Chris. If you've got them, let us know. And I'm going to pull up my little teaser of this, one of these little micro games we're developing. Let's see if I can find the right window.
Does look like a Christo. Is it Christo Leon or Leon Christo? I can't tell. I'm sorry.
Christo Leon. Hi. Yes.
Christo Leon. Yeah. It looks like you've got a question, man. What's up?
Yes. Thank you very much. This is impressive. We are actually, I'm the director of research for NJT in New Jersey, and we've been doing a lot of evaluation about tabletop role-playing games. And currently, we've been working in a project which is an anthology, right? And we just come up with this problem that is a really simple thing. I go to the library, I know that this book, Coyote and Crow, is a tabletop role-playing game book here, and I cannot find that book on any query that I try to do. Because when I go to the National Library of Congress, it's furniture. It's under furniture. Who the heck thinks to find a book under furniture? And then I go, well, let me try tabletop. Let me try role-playing game. Let me try fantasy. Let me try game. Let me try book, right? So I addressed this to my librarians, and they were like surprised, because I'm like, well, maybe there's something that I don't understand from the LIS side of things.
Yep.
Tell me how, if I'm a researcher, that I know this book is here, how I can find this book here, right? And I'm like, is this a special collection? Is hidden under a special door that no one can see it? Is what am I missing? 3 things happened when I did this experiment in different universities, right? Which is nobody agrees. Because you're forced by the state to tell you you need to use either this one or this one or this one, but you have the freedom to pick whatever works for you, which I was like, how? Then I did exactly the same experiment in every single library, which is I physically go get the book and I just go to their search thing and I just time how long it's going to take me to find out this book. My record has been 2.5 hours. So, wow. That is just a simple metaphor to say the objects have different names, right? They all call them differently because of different patterns of what we're looking at. But then while we're trying to retrieve that information, I wouldn't ever think about, in my library, what happened is they're coded under board games because they come from a public use. They want the students to be using the game. So they like, if we put it under the board game category, then they can borrow it for more time. Because if I put it under the normal books, it's a special collection because it's over $70, and then they can only use it for 2 days. And who wants to use a tabletop role-playing game for 2 days, right? I'm like, all of that is amazing. I understand the pain behind that, but when now I export that to RPGs, LARP, CRPGs, all of those terms everywhere else, it turns out that no library has CRPGs, no library has LARP. And I'm like, that is not true. I know here you have the manual on how to do that. So it just becomes to be like a really complex rabbit hole, which is why we think we should do an ontology. And I would like to work with you on your program.
Love it. I mean,
so I just wonder what was your idea about like this? Because it seems that we're going through the same importance of how to make it retrievable, right?
Right, like what you're really hitting home the library and information science piece that's at the foundation of all of this, right? Which is library science is about taxonomies and folksonomies. It's about describing the aboutness of items in relation to the aboutness of other items, so we can classify and organize them for searchability, for usability by our patrons and our audience, right? And the issue is that we are behind on the library science side of metadata, I believe, when it comes to games as well of various formats. Now, there are some amazing leaders that are doing great work. Games and Gaming Roundtable has a metadata committee. The current chair of that committee is Mackenzie Johnson from the University of Saskatchewan. He's doing fantastic work. The whole committee is. But also Jinha Lee with the Gamer Group, Professor Jinha Lee at the Gamer Group at University of Washington. They're doing extraordinary scholarship related to this. And so I think you're really spot on as well, Christo, though. It's a piece of it is us getting our ships moving in the same direction and agreeing as much as we can when it comes to metadata, but also, like you said, when it comes to ILSs and even agreeing on what's a general borrowing rule that we want to maybe offer for video games versus board games. When I was first adding video games to our ILS in our library system in Wisconsin that I was a part of, almost all other libraries were doing 1 week borrowing for video games. And, they were doing 2 week borrowing for video games. And I was thinking to myself, that's bonkers, because if you get a new game like God of War Ragnarok and you add it to a collection, and there's only a handful of them in the whole system, by the time it's got 60, 70 holds, 90 holds, by the time that those 2 weeks run around for every single user, that's no longer going to be a new game whatsoever. So I think that an exploration and analysis of borrowing rules and what type of, like we call it maybe an I type in an ILS, the item type that has certain borrowing rules associated with it, a really important piece of us developing best practices for getting these things in folks' hands. So the metadata piece, understanding the library and information science searchability component, us figuring out, like you mentioned as well, subject headings. I mean, all of that work needs to be done at the national and international level to a serious degree. And I think there is great work being done, but it needs to be pulled together more by folks smarter than me, I will say.
Yeah, I think I was really curious about that, because I feel another big loophole is not only the metadata, that's what we're doing, right? We agree, but they don't have definitions. So all of a sudden, is this a rule or a manual? Well, what is the difference? Well, in tabletop role-playing games, there's a huge difference in between the manual, the rule, and the board game, or because we have like Dungeon Master screens, right?
Yeah.
they're impossible to find.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, what do you call that in a? What is the ephemera that surrounds games
Yeah.
that we want to add as part of a collection or something to find in a library? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's related to the furniture object that is.
Yeah, the furniture. Yes. Library of things, alternative collection. I mean, you know. Yeah.
So I will say that I will send you an email because
Please.
this is great.
Love it.
Great.
Fantastic. What a great question, Dr. Leon. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, as furniture, that is absolutely absurd and hilarious. And there's a mimic joke here lurking.
Yeah, right. Dark Souls. I
can't quite put my finger on it. I was just going to tease this little guy. And so this is one of the little supplements we're developing for the upcoming book. I want to get this out in the next couple weeks. It's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And it is which is of course in the Jules Verne in the public domain. And this is the art on the left that was developed, these etchings by Edouard Riot, I believe. And really gorgeous, of course, public domain art. And we're looking at how we could add a little bit of color and fit them into the palette of our upcoming book, which is a 2-color printing. And so these are some of the concepts for that. And I just found them really striking and cool. But there's a discussion. Do we use the original public domain etchings, which are gorgeous and brilliant and fascinating as, as artifacts, right? As historical artifacts that kids and young learners should engage with? Or do we try to make them a little more accessible? And I don't know. So it's an interesting question. We haven't landed anywhere yet. This is concept art, but it's not the biggest part of that resource at all. What's been fun about Journey to the Center of the Earth, the version we're developing, is that it is it's an intergenerational TTRPG. So it's really heavily based on the source text, what we're developing, but it's really a kind of reader's theater designed for like a kid to read with their parent or their grandparent or somebody else. And so we had different versions of this. One was a solo TTRPG. One was like more like a book club, like a bunch of middle schoolers maybe running through a program. And then we thought, what is going to have the most impact? What needs the least amount of setup? It's either going to be a solo game that a librarian or a parent can just hand to a kid who needs to be doing something, or something a little more interactive, maybe for that student who hasn't quite picked up the habit of doing more intensive reading. They could take turns reading it. And so the book, it just emerged from that insight of looking at the characters and seeing that. Anyway, I'm not going to tease any of the rest of the content, but it is just delightful. They really take turns reading through the chapter. There's some light dice mechanics in there. And then at the end of each chapter, there are some open role play questions that extends some of the thinking and has sort of fun little back and forth between the two readers. And so I was just sort of picking up one of the points you made earlier, Chris, about games being its own literacy, and role play is its own literacy too.
Big time. Huge.
And so what I'm excited that this might be sort of an entry point for some people. It scaffolds the role play. So anyway, that's enough about that. But I'd love your input. Original etchings or touch them up with...
Oh man, I love them both, man. They look so cool. I unfortunately I just like them both so much.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think maybe I'm an original etchings guy because I'm such a history geek, but they both look so good.
Aren't they cool? Yeah. Well, I know we are at. I just need to schedule this for 45 minutes because we always run to 45. But thank you so much for joining us today, Chris. This is fantastic.
My people.
Yes, it's all because the people are here supporting it and showing up, and I've just been blown away by what's been emerging here within the applied TTRPG community. So, and I keep finding heroes like yourself in these different branches of the community, and so it's been fun to invite people in. So once again, thanks for joining us. I hope we'll have you on again.
I'd love to
as this grant matures and as the resources come out and the data comes out. So it's going to be a journey, hopefully, and you'll come back as more stuff comes through. So as I mentioned, Adventures in the Stacks, we're teasing this. We're hoping to have the full pre-launch page up by the end of the month, by the end of May. It's a library-focused TTRPG practitioner book. We're going to do it on BackerKit. Very excited to tease more for you and share more about what that's all about. Origins is coming up late June. I'll be there in person in Columbus. Adam will be there. Marianne will be there. Many folks. Susan Harmon will be there. It'll be a wild party. Many of us will also be at Play Make Learn, so I'll probably see you in person there, Chris.
Oh, you're going to Play Make Learn. Oh, that's so great.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're going on tour. So
yeah, Jennifer. Woo! Nice.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, a lot of energy there in the chat. And of course, we try to do this every Friday. So we will see you. Hopefully you could join us next Friday. I made a mistake. It's not actually next Friday is not Sarah White. It's Keaton Wadzinski. And so Sarah White's coming the week after that. But Keaton will join us next week, who is a really big thinker when it comes to progressive education and the future of education. And really had some really great conversation with Keaton. And look, join us for that. He's going to be perhaps contributing to this upcoming book as well. There's a link here, and let me share the slide link for everybody. So you've just got that, and that's it. Thank you guys for joining us. Let us know what you think, what we're doing well, what you'd like to see more of. If there's somebody you want in the show, let us know, and keep rolling.
Let me just tell you too, Garrett, this was awesome. The work you're doing, and this is fantastic. Just thank you.
Well, thanks for saying that. I'm having a ball. This has been this is absolutely a pure delight. So, and meeting other people who are as big a nerd, as big of a geek as I am about TTRPGs and learning really and literacy. I mean, that's what it's all about. So, thank you. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. We'll see you in Discord.